All right, we are talking about the square root property. So there's steps whenever you have a square root and how to solve for it. So we have our equation right here. So the first step is to isolate the variable or expression that's being squared. So make sure you get it by itself. All right, so let's look. Right now, this is the part that's being squared. So we need to take this and move it to the other side. So in order to do to the other side, you're going to have to subtract 4. And then that is where we got the 12. Oops. All right, so when we move to this guy, over to here. All right, so now we're left with 2, and then also we have to get rid, I'll do this in orange, you have to divide both sides by 2, and then that simplifies, and this gives you 6. So now we have 2x minus 1, all in parentheses, squared, and then that's going to give you 6. All right, the next step is to square root both sides of the equation. So I'm taking here, I'll square root here, and what you do to one side, gotta do to the other. And then, so now, if you square a square root, those cancel each other out. So you're left with 2x minus 1 equals, now here it's very important, make sure you put this plus or minus sign right here, because that's before the radical, because that is important. You will have 2 solutions. All right, so now you need to separate the positive and negative roots and then solve. So you will have 2 solutions. And make sure you do not actually find the decimal square root unless specifically told to do so. Your radical form is the most accurate. So what we're going to do is now we're going to take this and we're going to do it over here with a plus root 6. And then we're going to take this and put it over here. But now, just like we have a minus here, we'll do a minus root 6. So you're going to separate it. And then once you go ahead and simplify, we added 1 to this side. And then we're going to divide both sides by 2. And then that's where you get 1 plus root 6 over 2. And then we did the same thing over here. We added 1. And then you're dividing both sides by 2, and then we will have x equals 1 minus root 6 over 2. So now, I'm going to do a few problems for you. This first one's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. We don't have to simplify anything, or we don't have to move anything. Everything's already moved over. But what we do need to do next is square root both sides. So remember, to get x by itself, you have to take the square root, and you're going to get x equals plus or minus 5, because there's 2 ways to get positive 25. So that's your answer. That was pretty easy. We didn't have to do too much. On number 2, you will have to divide by 3 first, and then you would go ahead and take the square root. Let's look at number 3. For number 3, we are going to have to do some moving. So we will have to move this 1 to the other side. And then now we'll get 4x squared equals 1. Now we can take the square root, oops, sorry, I forgot to divide by 4. Okay, there we go. So I've got x squared equals 1/4. All right, now we can go ahead and take the square root of both sides. And then if you have forgotten, I just want to remind you that this is the same as square root of 1 over square root of 4. So you're going to get x equals plus or minus 1/2. And that is your answer. All right, let's do this next one. This next one, if you notice, all of this is squared. So what we have to do first is we have to take the square root of both sides to undo that. So we're going to get 3x plus 1 equals root 15. And remember, it's plus or minus root 15. And then now we have to subtract 1. And you'll get 3x equals -1 plus or minus root 15. And then divide both sides by 3. So x is going to equal -1. And we're going to make that plus root 15 over 3, or x equals -1 minus root 15 over 3. So notice here you've got your plus sign, and here you've got your minus, and we got that from right here. And you divided everything. So these two are your two solutions. And they cannot be simplified or combined. So that is as low as you can get it. So what I want you to do is you're going to do number 2, number 4, and number 6. You'll go ahead and you'll complete those. But remember your step, isolate the variable, get it by itself, and then once you get the square, or once you get it to where everything's by itself, then take the square root of both sides, and don't forget your plus minus. Then separate the positive and negative roots and solve. You will have two solutions. And that is how you do square root property.